Hey friends, Rob Phoenix, Power Guy here. Hope you're all doing well. Uh, Forgive my appearance. I just got out of the shower. But I come to you tonight and I forgive the quality of this video. I'm up in the library, my sanctum sanctorum. The lighting is not great right now, so video quality is what it is. Right now I come to you as one folk practitioner to others. Now is the time for us to step up for the people here in the United States because Medicare is on the chopping block. There is a budget being pushed through that has massive cuts to Medicaid spending. And so if you are low income or a child, um, or elderly in the United States, Medicaid is extremely important. And to have any cuts to that whatsoever, I believe the goal is to have Medicaid like cut and let it up to each individual states to have funding for their own kind of statewide Medicaid program. That would be the death of millions of people. If you've ever benefited from medicated. And chances are you have in some way, shape, or form, whether it was you directly or your child through the CHIP program. CHIP is the Children's Health Insurance Program here in the United States, created and passed with the input of Hillary Clinton during the Clinton administration. So if your child has ever benefited from CHIP, you can thank Hillary Clinton for that, Democrat. CHIP is the Children's Health Insurance Program that guarantees that all children in the United States from 0 to 18 have medical coverage, regardless of their parents' ability or inability to provide health insurance. So the CHIP program guaranteed that all kids are covered, no matter what. That could be on the chopping block. Kids in foster care automatically receive CHIP, Medicaid. And like our son, when we adopted him at age 5, he had a Medicaid kind of situation. But Bill and I both have private health insurance, and my boss was willing to put him on my private health insurance the day he moved into our home as a foster kid. I realize that's rare, but we were able to not need the Medicaid. Medicaid was actually a detriment because there were a lot of physicians that weren't accepting Medicaid if you had a private health insurance as first, which we did. So Medicaid we got rid of. We didn't need it, thankfully, but we were privileged, I guess you could say, and our son was privileged, and that is not the case for millions of Americans. Well, in the United States. So I'm really worried about like the Medicaid cuts that may very well get passed, because if that happens and it's up to individual states, then the individual states have to figure out where they're going to get financing to fund these Medicaid recipients. And then there may very well be caps and work requirements and what do they call that? Deductibles associated with the use of Medicaid. And that affects a lot of, well, all basically elderly citizens who receive Medicare, because Medicaid tends to pick up the tab where Medicare doesn't. Anyway, the destruction of Medicaid or the dismantling of it or the restructuring of it or the defunding of it or the whatever privatization, whatever they're trying to do, is to the detriment of millions of United States citizens. And so as folk practitioners, I believe it's up to us to step up our game at this point. And if we truly care about people, if we truly care about their health, if we truly care about the health of the United States, we need to step up and let people know that we're here to offer our services in times of need. Now, that doesn't mean we're the cure-all, the end-all and be-all of health services. If you practice any type of folk tradition, hopefully it has at least some element of healing involved in it. Like powwow is all about healing. So I just make it, I'm making it known that I'm here to help you in any way possible. If you should find yourself in a difficult situation. Again, can't cure everything, can't fix everything, but I can try to help in the best ways that I know how. So it's my call to action for those of you who are full practitioners to put yourself out there and let people know that you have them. Like if something worst case scenario and they find themselves without any kind of access to medical care, at least you'll be there to like try for them and help them in some ways, but being honest about it and realistic that you cannot be the miracle worker that they might need. Sometimes powwowing or folk magic or whatever, faith healing, whatever you want to call it, is all that your client or your patient or your person is going to get. And so you do the best you can, but you still have to be honest with them that it might not be enough. Um, we can't be all things for all people. We can't do all things for all people, but now's the time for us to step up. And this is why folk traditions flourished in our history because they were there for the people in a time when the people needed it. When the rich and the powerful didn't care about the people, the folk traditions and their adherents did. And so now it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is, I guess you could say, and step up. So I'm here. Worst case scenario, Medicaid is defunded or the coverage is decreased or whatever. And I feel for you because when I was a kid, my family was poor and we relied on Medicaid for our health insurance. And I didn't know it at the time. I mean, and then when I was an adult on my own, I didn't have any kind of health insurance from the time I was like 18 until I was in my very late 30s when I finally got a proper job and a career that had health insurance. So I went for many, many years with no insurance coverage at all. And I remember what that was like going to the doctor and they're like, well, what kind of insurance do you have? Oh, I don't have any. I'm self-pay. And that meant very little because I was very poor as a young adult. But I've had doctors say, well, how do I know I'm going to get paid for this? I'm not going to treat you. And that was a real thing. We don't want to go back to that. So I never want anybody to be in the position that I was in. Um, so anyway, for all you folk practitioners out there, please put yourselves out there. Please be the healers that you claim to be. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I truly don't know what it means. How do we put ourselves out? I don't even know. But I'm just saying that I think if it's our call to bring healing into the world, I think we're going to see a time where uh, healing is needed on a much larger scale than we're accustomed to. So, yeah, things are not looking good right now. I don't know how these new budget bills will pass. Hopefully, they will not, because these are dark times. And, so there you go. So if you yourself are reliant on Medicaid, if you have a child reliant on Medicaid, if you've ever known somebody reliant on Medicaid, which I know you have, if you know some elderly folks who rely on Medicaid, then you have to be against this. Um, and if this passes and you're a folk practitioner, then it's time to step up. We got to be what the people need. So that's what folk traditions are all about. That's what folk healers do. That's where we come into play. So anyway, the call to action is out there, and let's do the best we can to keep the people in the United States as healthy as we can possibly do. All right. Thank you guys. God bless you. Love you. And let's talk again soon.